let's actually start 18 VA. The first thing you have to do when you're playing is try to evaluate these different miners or privates. In 1830 and most of the games that have that kind of auction, I have a certain mechanism that I use. I'm going to use something similar to it. In the 1830 one, well, you have the option to buy this one outright, the first railroad, the first private offered to you. So I kind of do it as, well, do I want that? If I do, and I roll a die on odds I do, I just buy it. If I don't want that, then I bid on one of the others. And that's kind of what I'm going to do here. I'm going to randomly roll and throw a bid on one of them. I'm going to probably need some number chits or something to try to keep track of this. I guess, I don't know. I could just dig up some cubes. I got a few kicking around there. Or use some of the company tokens for it. And just try to express who has the highest bid at any given time and who's still interested in a railway. You don't get knocked, you don't kind of fall out of the bidding in these unless you decide to withdraw your cash, and it doesn't really matter, you can re-enter. So yeah, you're never really out of it, which means I have to pay more attention. But in order to come up with some kind of fair usage of that bidding mechanism, I have to have an evaluation of what this is worth. So this thing adds 10 to any city. Well, that is almost pointless. So the biggie for me is the 10 buck income, which I can kind of get a view on. And that's barely worth that $40. So I don't think that's going to see a lot. This one gives you a $200 train credit. Well, obviously right off the bat, that's not useful. And you probably want to hold that until you actually need it because of the revenue there. So this isn't worth much more than the revenue it generates. And that looks to be about on par here, 20 bucks per 5 bucks. This one also has the same income capacity, but it has some things that are harder to judge. The extra token and the train limit. And then there's also how much can you take your company for? So this, if I buy it for 40, I can get 60 bucks for it. So I can make a quick 20 bucks in addition to the revenue I make for it. All told, I don't know that that evaluates it much higher. This one, I can make an additional 40 bucks off my 80 bucks. But I don't make it right away, and that's money that's out of my pocket and isn't gaining stock value, although it's producing pretty good revenue. All something to think about. The Baltimore and Ohio is probably the easiest of all. It's worth 140, or it costs 140. You can set the par value at 100, which means you make 60 bucks in immediate value. Now, that's in value, it's not in cash, and you probably don't want to dump the company right away or whatever, although maybe. But it's pretty close to cash. It honestly is. The B&O doesn't look like it's in a terrible location. It looks like it's in a pretty good location. So a couple shares of that shit doesn't sound bad at all. Great. Well, what do I do with, you know, what is its value? Well, its value is almost the 200. So if anybody's getting up to like 190, maybe they're giving up some opportunity, but anything less than that, you probably just want to bid it. It's almost assuredly worth making that extra money. And so it's not going to go low easily. Anyway, the way I'm going to do this, let's see, let's take a look at this first player here. We'll give him the, wait, I don't want to touch that, that's ugly looking. We'll give him these pretty Virginian counters, and we'll see. Is he interested in one of these? Well, there's 4. A whole bunch of money could be useful too, but companies float on 20%, right? They may not be able to operate on it, but I got a 6. Okay. So what I was doing was 1 through 6, but a 6, I know the Baltimore and Ohio is worth more than its current valuation. So I'm going to drop a token there, and I'm going to say I'm going to bid the 140. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get it, but I don't want to bid higher. So the next player. Next player gets a 5. Well, that is also the B&O. So we go up, and we're now at 145. I don't know how we're going to keep track of this. I can go 140 there. 145, I start having to throw change around. And I'm not keeping track of every railway, so I'm not keeping track of a single railway at a time, as I do in the normal full bidding process. The normal 1830 bidding process, I'll have a line of chits of people who have bid on it. They're the only people who can keep bidding on it, and then I can figure out how high it went. But here, I have a feeling I'm going to be moving money around quite a bit. This fourth player says, you know, I really want this. I don't know why. I'll put the $60 bid over there. Our third player. Fourth player over here. Yeah, we can avoid the orange. He's interested in the B&O. I'm going to say anything but a 6. He'll go with a bid on the B&O on a second roll. Because it's starting to cost some money. That's an opportunity cost of some sort. So he's now up to 150 on the B&O. He's also interested in the B&O. He'll go to 155. I just don't see it going for much less than the 195. And I am going to break this into these so that I can put a 155 bid aside for the B&O. He's in the lead for that because we're coming back around. Okay, where does this guy want to go? Well, he could keep bidding on the B&O, and he's probably somewhat interested in that because but some of these others may be worth more. So we'll roll a die and see what he goes for. Well, he'll put a $40 bid here. So right now he's only got $40 committed. This money is no longer committed, but everybody's interested in the B&O for whatever it matters. Anyway, I'm going to keep going, and I'll tell you how much the money crashes for. This is really sort of a mechanical version, and it's not any easier if I'm videoing it. So because I have to keep track of the numbers, I would rather just be off board. Little C&O tokens may have made a mistake. He's bid all his money. That means the money that he's bid on this may prevent him from winning what was his first choice, the B&O. But he may be okay with that. This guy actually didn't bid, but that's fine. You can drop out and come back in with this bidding. And we're coming back over here. I don't know. To actually stick the bids under the little lead markers. People who are interested are popped in there. Everybody could end up interested in all of them, though, eventually. So I don't know how much that matters, but it does help inform some of my decisions as to whether they're willing to go on it. Did they value it highly to begin with? So we have our final bids on things. Let's see. The Norfolk and Western here is buying the Ironworks for $80. That's expensive. I have 205, 210, 215, 240. So that all works out right. Just double checking the money because when I start moving chips around, who knows what's going on, right? Okay. He's not the Norfolk and Western. This is just, he is the Tredegar Ironworks. Let's take a look at the next one. The guy who has the RF and Ps, he put a big bid on this, 75, 80, 90 bucks. He's got 150 left. That works out correctly. So he gets this Potomac Yard. Okay. And our remaining fella got a reasonable deal on the B&O, actually. 175, that's not bad at all. I'm surprised people let him get away with it, but whatever. And another 50, that's 225, 235, makes 240 for this. This he paid a lot for. He paid 60 bucks for. I consider that kind of extreme. All his cash is accounted for. Here's the presidency of the B&O. He's of course going to set it at $100. We'll see if there's any reason he shouldn't have done that. And now we got to rearrange people. Order of most cash, we have two people who got nothing. In the 5-player game, somebody's going to get nothing. Over here, he's only got 10 bucks more than the guy with the Potomac Yards, so that's an expensive buy. And then obviously the B&O and the Express Agency. And I mean, if either of these guys had wanted the B&O, they could have gotten it at a little bit cheaper. Not cheaper than he got it, but they could have pushed his costs up. He paid a lot on that Railway Express Agency for whatever that's worth. Right. So now that gets us to the normal stock actions. And I hope everybody's at 240, 200, 25, 35, 40, yeah. We won't make as much change as possible, but let's keep those greens in there. And it's time to start evaluating, hey, where are the good railways in this? And that's gonna take some thinking, because remember, there's this run here. You could run a one train between Lynchburg and Roanoke, or between Staunton and Roanoke, but Lynchburg is a starting company, that is able to make 20, if you put a dot there, essentially 40, 50, 70 buck run. How big is that? Well, the other side of it is these ports here. Let's take a look at the wealth of some of the ports. Looks like Norfolk's our best port. Oh no, Baltimore's probably our best port. Well, Baltimore is able to make 30, 40, 50, 90, add 30 more for the token, and you can get up to 130 off a T-train. What were we here? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So clearly the Baltimore run looks pretty good. Washington may not be able to do as well. It's got to cut up through Baltimore. Early on, that dot's not going to be available. The track's not going to be available. So there's nothing really appealing here except Alexandria is 20 bucks. Down here, Norfolk is pretty good though. So that can get you 50, 60, 70. You need a dot here. The dot down here would get you 60, 70, 80. Again, looks like the B&O is in really, really rich land compared to everyone else. So we got to think about this a little bit. I think the Norfolk and Western looks the most interesting to him. That's what he's going to buy. He could start it at 100. I would give him 40 bucks left in cash. He could start at 80 and buy 3 shares. Actually 82. He'd have to start at 75. Shit. That's beginning to get on the low end. I'm not sure how willing I am to do that. But 3 shares, it's going to run fairly rich. I can run trains here and here, a couple of deuces in each. Drop my dot in Norfolk, which produces good money. Maybe drop one here. Really kind of expend the company early, and then it becomes less valuable later in the game. 3 shares, well 3 shares doesn't, yeah 3 shares is the maximum I can hold. I'm going to do that. I'm going to set it at 75. Oh, I have to give the starting money to the B&O. 75, give him this. officially transfer 2 of these tokens here. These shares. Now these are already set up on this, but whatever. And now I owe, I said 75 and 75 is 150 bucks. That goes into the treasury to get the 40% presidency. And I believe I can't throw that many tokens. I believe this token drops down there right away. Not in Norfolk, in Petersburg. It's an XX game. Sometimes they fuzz around a little bit with stuff. Oh, that makes some interesting questions. The RF&P is in a nice central location, but it's not set up to make big money right away. This Southern, on the other hand, is set up for a nice couple of trains. It's not as rich as the Norfolk and Western, which makes it somewhat less appealing. So I don't know. The other option, of course, starting with something like Virginia and trying to run off of what it would do, which is, I was saying, I mean, it takes a token for this, though. 20, 40, 50, 70 bucks. That doesn't seem all that great. I could run another one down here, use my other token down there, and add another 60 bucks and get it to the 130 range. I don't know how valuable that really is. Oh, this is... Oh, I only have 1 token, so I have to kind of decide. Do I want to double my income, or do I want to throw cash into the company? They're having the same amount of money, making basically the same decision. Let's buy at 75. But he decides to buy the Western Maryland up here. The reason being, I'm going to be able to crank money into the company more easily. So I'm not just the baby brother of the Norfolk and Western, which is what the Southern ends up being. But he went with the Southern anyway. Said, well, baby brother, it's still far and away the Baltimore and Ohio is the best, but nobody has the right kind of money for the B&O. You don't have the 200 bucks without a decent overage. Which means he gets away with holding it pretty much all on his own. This guy's got 150 bucks too. Well, he can start at 75, just as this guy could, with no extra left over. That seems appealing. The question is, what does he want to do? Does he want to be over here, which is the same situation as him? This guy's got better growth into Washington. This guy's got maybe a better early opportunity somewhere back over here. But it's not really obvious. Like this looks like, hey, I can connect up passenger routes this way and coal this way. This guy, not a lot of passenger routes unless he goes with the C&O. C&O, of course, is another opportunity. I could run down here and up here or into Richmond or something. Gives me a kind of centralized location. Doesn't look too terrible. The Fredericksburg, the RF&P, that's a really interesting location. That's like, oh, I'm going to connect the north-south lines. That's what its motto is. But do I really want to start it up now? Now, one thing I've done is I marked this game as you kind of pick things where you put them. I believe this is supposed to be postbellum, no matter what. It doesn't really state it, and it kind of feels not to be the case because, you know, you have these ancient companies, really. The B&O, the C&O, the RF&P. These are really old companies, kind of beginning to lay track. Some of it has to do with consolidation, but some of it has to do, some of it just feels wrong if this is indeed postbellum. And I don't know where I got that impression. I thought I read somewhere that it is about the postbellum. Anyway, I'm trying to make this decision here. This guy doesn't have, this guy's got the Ironworks, which lets him, what, get a new train, which will help. That'll help his poorness here. This guy has a bonus that will come into play later in the game, but I don't know what it is. You know, I don't know how it's going to work. I know what it is. The extra tokens might help me bust in if I'm something else. I think I'm going to go with the C&O, and I'm going to put that also at the 75 level. People who had enough money to buy an additional share, guy with the Norfolk and Western, he says, well, this is the best line I can buy. It's going to make the best money, and he concurs. The Western Maryland, it's all great and good. I'd love to get money into it, but it's not going to make as much as the N&W is as a personal ownership thing. The reason for this is a little bit of protection for the president. Dump some money in from those if I drop my token there, which I'm planning on doing. And that gives priority here. And we're going to be going into a single operating round. Here's one problem. Well, I got something else to look up. The way the operating rounds operate. Normally in an XX game, that is determined by how so if a new train is purchased, the number of operating rounds was fixed already by how things started in the stock round. I want to make sure that that's the case here, because there's some weird wording in this game, and I'm not positive that it works that way. And I ought to probably move the B&O over to him. Should also probably throw some money in it. It should have $200 in it, I believe. So indeed, it's twice the par value of the B&O that goes in there, so it is indeed $200. It is, the designer's notes is where it goes into that it should be seen as a postbellum game, because there's a lot of small companies that are getting merged into these somewhat larger companies. I don't remember the C&O's history all that well. It may have started out, it may have been formed. Get this nasty wrinkle. This is the Deep Thought sort of deluxe version on the foam core. I think it was, I don't think this is a kit. I think this was bought in that deluxe version. And it's kind of sad to see that happening. Yeah, I know, but it was an expensive game, man. Everything else looks great, but there was one final bit of information which had to do with the operating rounds. I'm going to go by kind of the standard rules. It looks more like this is just omitted. It's not really explained that when this is triggered. So I'm going to play it by standard there, but it's a little tricky. And I can use this marker, which has no purpose, to tell me how many operating rounds there should be or something. I don't know. So we're on that first operating round. We pass out the cash for the privates, and here we get 15 bucks. $20 here. These go to the player, not to the company. The players still own them, and only 10 there. Then we go to our first corporation, which is the B&O. Only allowed to lay one track at the beginning of the game. I see no reason to do anything other than this. I'm allowed to buy multiple trains if I want. I could put a token here. No reason right now. The B&O is going to buy 2 $100 trains. Ooh, there goes all my money. What's all this shit train cost? Well, that's going to prevent me from building that token. I sure don't want a 1G. Do I? I don't think so. I'm only allowed to buy one train. So let's just buy one train. The reason I'm only allowed to buy one, you're only allowed to buy one of each type, of a given type in a turn, and I did not pay out dividends, so I go back. The Norfolk and Western, and everything loses money on the first turn. Norfolk and Western has a pile of cash, has its track. What do we want to do? Again, we don't have the kind of money. Well, we have more money than the B&O does. We don't have the kind of money to buy a lot of trains, but we can actually afford 2 trains and a token. That's appealing. So I'm going to build a sharp turn at Petersburg. This is what it's all planned for. I only can buy 1 train and no dots. Pay the cash. That goes back. It's the first one in this space, so I don't have to do anything special. This guy's a little different. I am going to take a straight track and head out into this area. I think that area is going to be worthwhile for me. I get to buy a train. I don't have a lot of cash. I'm going to spend 100, and I'm going to buy a mining train. I go back. Value. The Southern, and they're going to be basically trying to duplicate the situation here. I can't jump right into there, so we'll lay our track this way. We pay our $100 for our train. We go back. C&O's also doesn't have a lot of cash, is interested in kind of doing 2 things at once. So this produces 20, 30, 40, 50 off a single train. This produces 40. Yeah, I don't know which way I want to go. I'll only lay this track, put the dot down. This would have been easier to think about. I want to jump into here, I think, rather than anything else. So I am going, I don't get it, because he gets to race me up here if I go. So if I go into here, he'll go, well, if I go, there's no situation right now. Actually, what happens is, if I don't go into here, I don't have the option right now. So this guy has the option to connect up Newport News, which is probably where he wants to go. But with the C&O setting up here, he might have to go up here first so that he gets into Richmond, to Fredericksburg quicker. If he doesn't go this way, the C&O can go this way and lay a track. But that's all going to be telegraphed by what train I buy right now. If I buy the 2 train, I'm going into Gordonsville. If I buy the 1G, I'm going this way. I'm pretty much guaranteed to lose the race here if I go this way. I'll still have my 2 train running. But I think I have more opportunities running the coal train at this point. I'm not going to be able to break in. I kind of knew that when I bought it, because the Southern was already purchased. So I'll buy that coal train. I mean, I might be able to shoot up and hit up here, but I'm going to get cut off here. I'm going to get cut off here. And basically, if I go into this space, I'm hurting myself because I get cut off, but I'm also hurting the Southern. And what I'm not hurting is the Baltimore and Ohio, which is doing just peachy. So what do we got here? We also go back. We'll go to the next stock round. These little wooden chips are hard to to maneuver, so I can't flip them all over the way I could with paper chip, cardboard chips from, you know, some of the earlier games that had those. I don't think anybody has enough money to do anything. People could sell shares, but they've lost money on them and reinvest. In some cases, they might have something neat. So this guy, for example, has 25 bucks in hand. If he had a $75 share that he could sell, and he can't because all he has is the presidency, he could put that extra, well, it wouldn't be worth 75 anymore, first of all, it would be worth 70, but he could put that extra money in and buy a B&O, which is probably well worth it, but don't know right now. This game may have a sort of slow and even stately progression. With everybody invested in railways, there's not a lot of extra cash left over. The railways themselves don't generally have a lot of extra money either. Norfolk and Western has a couple hundred, the B&O has 100. These could each buy an extra train, but the rest, they basically have nothing, which may make these things kind of interesting. Everybody's got enough for a dot, though, so that's cool. So anyway, we run through the stock round. Everything's operated, so we could sell off shares, but like I said, that's not going to happen. So we'll go into the operating round. And we pay out the cash for the miners, our privates. I'll be back in a minute. All right, so I threw that down. And at this point, first thing I want to think about here is the B&O. Now my initial decisions on starting the B&O involved this has to be an endpoint to score that extra. Shit. I probably should have moved right in there. I would be getting more money off. I could run a single train and make lots and lots of money off of it. But that would have been 30 extra bucks, which is less than the 40 I'll get from running the second train. But with only one train, it would have been appealing. Whew, I don't know. I'm considering cheating that. But we did what we did. This is when it's wealthy too. It really makes the money off of it. But I think letting track may be important. Whatever it is, I want to make the most money I can make off my shares. That's generally a rule, but when there's not a lot of money coming in from anywhere, it seems even more important to try to differentiate yourself that way. I don't think having another port and a lesser port is all that appealing. So put this piece down. I was only allowed one train. I don't have a lot of money for an extra train. Yeah, I screwed up. I'm going to buy the dot, because that is actually important. That gets me double money here. So I'm at 80, 100, 10 bucks a share. I'm the only one with any shares. So I grab a quick 20 bucks. The share value for the company is only 90. So that 10 bucks a share pays out. But it's not going to keep paying out at that. Which is to say, once I get here, it's not going to go any further in stock value. Interesting. And I don't have the money for that second train, which puts me to the Norfolk and Western, which has tons of money and capability to run into here, to drop a token here. This would be worth 50, this would be worth 60. Both require a token. I have only one token. this is worth a lot more in the long run. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna run for 5 a share right now. Nobody can get in here other than me. Which gives 15 bucks here. Shares are bigger. Double-sized company. So 5 a share is 30 bucks. Or it's 5 for each 10%. And over here it's 10 bucks. Price goes up. Price does not go up. I only made 5. I only made 50 bucks. I'm worth 70. We're gonna have to do better than that. Wow, stock value is like not a way to get money here. Interesting. You really have to produce. And at this point, oh, I should have bought that token. Instead of 5, make it 8 a share, which means it does go up because I'm buying a token. 60 bucks. Wow, I'm feeling not terribly confident here. I didn't want to buy this token, so we don't change anything. It's the other token I want. They both had 30. I'm gonna want them both. Shit. All right, let's just undo this. If this was 5 a share, this was 30 bucks. This guy made 10 bucks. Get 10 more from him. Okay. Puts him to 50. All right, let's start over. Let's lay this track. Doesn't make much difference. This makes a little less money. That's the only difference. You know, I'm going to want both of these dots. Screw it. We'll buy the dot. Yeah, I'm going to want both dots. Am I going to be able to get both dots? Well, both are plus 50. But this one is a more valuable location. Yeah. We're going to ensure that we get this dot. I don't see any railway sneaking in for this one. So I'll spend that. I'll spend the 40 bucks. Gets me 50, 60 bucks. From there, my run is instead 20, 40, 50, 60, 70. It would be 80 otherwise. 70 is enough to get me forward because I matched that value. I make 7 a share more, but well, 7 per 10%, which means I've got 60% at 7 is 42 bucks. 25, 42. And this guy makes 14. 10 and 4. And I should have that closer to me. It's kind of hard to reach. Maybe we'll shift it. Now I get to do the thing I really want to do, which is I buy another train. And why did the B&O not buy another train? Because the B&O doesn't have 100 bucks on it. B&O may have to swallow to get its second train, or buy shares. But the Norfolk and Western is now clearly the better investment. And it's mainly because somebody invested in it. They were able to throw that extra, you know, share in. So it was 4 shares at the 75 instead of 2 shares at 100. All right, let's go to this choo-choo. Well, I've got the 1G train, so there's kind of no question. I go in here, I got enough money for my token. You see people buying tokens early and they're in off-map, out of not terribly powerful positions for tokens. This railway will run at 20 bucks and he gets 20 bucks at his railway. So let's get him that first. Doesn't count towards your stock value, but 20, 30, 40, 50, not enough to make a big payout. 50 bucks isn't going to get me a train at this point, so I'll pay 5 a share, which quadrupled comes to 20 bucks. I hope I did the others right, but whatever. Different share sizes always cause me issues. So his token stays in the same place, and it's on the top. Others could get interfered with, and there's not a lot of space on this stock track to handle being able to put enough tokens to represent, hey, things that didn't move, things that moved. Okay, we go to the SR. This sucker over here doesn't have a whole lot of money, has a token. This token doesn't seem like a bad choice. It makes me the mini Norfolk and Western without as much money, without as good a location, but we'll put that there. We're going to run at 20, 40, 60 with our 2 train. That's not enough to make bank. And so that's worth 24 bucks. Okay. And now to the C&O. I have no money for a train here. C&O. C&O's got the 1G train. Ooh, maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I should have started off with a real train right away. Well, we got a problem right off, which is we're not making a run. This goes back. And not much I can do with 50 bucks. I'm going to want my token down here. I'm going to be in the same position this guy is in. Yeah, I should have started with a rail train, I guess, right off. The thing is that you make more money off of these, but maybe this would have been a wiser company then for starting. You know, I think C&O, big company at this era already. Yeah, maybe not such a great starting company, though, for this particular board. It had a nice central location. It might have been okay going in this direction. But here's the thing. I'm going to make 20, 30, 40, 50 a share off that 1G, as opposed to 40 a share off of a 2 train. So I think the 1G is the better move, but that makes the VGN just the better railway in a lot of ways. And that drops us back to a stock round. Priority over here. I don't think anybody has a whole hell of a lot of money. I don't see anybody sitting on 75 bucks. I don't see anybody who wants to sell a share, which means we go back into the next operating round. It's like slow start games of 18xx, and this one feels pretty slow. It might not be so. If you have more money, you can throw more money into the companies and get them running. I know my buddy Joshua, who does a lot of XX, he just got rid of his copy of this. He was saying it's not very good in more than 3 for the most part. And it may have to do with that slow start aspect, to tell you the truth, because there aren't a lot of good companies to start with, which means you may have to be an investor early on to get a company really running. However, what we're seeing is even the good companies are a little hamstrung by not having enough cash in them. It's only the fact that somebody put a 4th share in here, or who bought the 4th share, that made the Norfolk and Western kind of powerful. There's something I kind of like about that, the attraction to a shared investment. These guys could have split, well, they can't split it 50-50 because of the way the shares work, so they could have split the company though and put a lot of money into it and made it kind of good. And could have done the same with the B&O, and that would though outpace the people who didn't, who are running lesser companies, or ones without investments at least. Okay, I gotta pay out my money. I moved this here. I hope it'll work a little better. Okay, so the B&O and the Norfolk and Western getting its double train setup working. Paid out 10 and 12 a share respectively. We've got enough money sitting over in the Norfolk and Western president's hand to buy a share of something. A lot of people actually have their 75 bucks, so shares of the cheaper things can go. Question is, you know, let's see, there's only a couple more shares of Norfolk and Western. He can't buy any more of them, so his 100 bucks might be best spent over on the B&O, which doesn't necessarily look all that attractive. Maybe the Southern is more attractive, looking a lot like the Norfolk and Western, and just save some cash. Now we're on this guy who has a 1G. Well, there's not a whole lot of excitement here. Looks to me like he's running the same situation he had, which is we're still on the 1G train for him. He gets his 20 bucks. Yeah, I like this over here a lot better. He gets his 20 bucks in there, and then he runs at 20, 30, 20, 30, 40, 50. Doesn't seem like a whole lot, which is 5 a share. That's not going to make money, but I get my 10 bucks. So I don't know. I mean, it's better than connecting crap to crap. So you don't make as much cash, but you put more cash in your company. What does that mean? Well, I don't know, because your stock value is not going up either. The Southern doesn't have too much it can do here, except lay track. I don't know if the RFMP is where I want to lay track to, but it looks more potentially valuable. And maybe I can get a dot somewhere like here if the B&O doesn't drop its dot, just to say, you know what, it's worth 100 bucks to put that dot there. 100 bucks is a lot of money right there now. That's another train. I can make a lot of money off another train. So hard to tell. Southern 40, that's 6 a share. Pay that shit out. Finally, the C&O hooks up, buys its dot. Now it's going to get 20 bucks in the company treasury, but it's, you know, it's a turn short, and that's horrible at this point in the game. And then my actual money, 20, 30, 40, 50, same as this guy made, same as the Maryville made, which isn't terribly good. The only good thing is, what, at 6. My stock value doesn't go up. I have enough money to buy another share, but of course that doesn't throw as much money in the company treasury as you would like. Oops, stupid wooden counters. I really don't like them because I can't flip a stack comfortably. I think I'm doing this in the right order, but I'm not positive. Okay, now we're on the stock round again, and priority is still here. I have lots of interesting choices. I could spend 70 bucks and buy a Southern. That gets more money into my Southern. It's interesting. I don't have enough money. It takes 110 now for a Baltimore and Ohio. I don't have that cash. I have enough for a Norfolk and Western at 82. They're making a lot of money. They'll make certainly no less if I throw money in. There's a limited number of shares of them. So this is the real question. Do I want the Southern and help my own railway? And then other people will probably buy into it too at this low value where the stocks aren't very good. Or, and if you swallow, it's even worse. You look more attractive because your stock value went down and it's undervalued compared to everything else. Or do I want to buy the Norfolk and Western, which doesn't help my railroad, which could really use some extra bucks? Well, 70 bucks isn't going to do it. I need 100 bucks for the Southern to get another choo-choo. So, I think I'm going to spend that 82. And I'll make change. Now, one person does have exactly 70 bucks in hand, which gives him 3 railways he can invest in. He wants to buy one of these. His own C&O at 65. What will that do? 70, 95. Not quite enough to get me that second choo-choo. And therefore, not really all that useful. But it could make people see that, hey, with one share doesn't help him. Does one share help him? Well, maybe. And that may be the difference here. Because of that turn delay. One share for him. First of all, you know what? I'm buying my own. Because I'm going to be making a run that generates more money. So 50, 65 bucks, I buy the third share of the C&O. By the way, the Norfolk and Western is sold out right now, which means it'll start going up in share value and have to meet an even higher and start falling back that way or standing still that way. Share value does not seem to move much in this game. And that's kind of an interesting thing. Most of the XX games, you're making as much in share value as you are in cash in the early game. So being an investor is kind of cool because the non-investors are collecting as much money, you know, the people running the companies are collecting half as much money as the investors are collecting because the investors are going to sell their shares to start another company. The investors also have the capital in those shares, which is even more important to start the new company. But sometimes you'll see somebody who's running a very good company able to just basically dump their cash and buy something. And that's going to be more likely here, I think. Of course, maybe there's less value to corporations in this. That is what I was told. So here we go to this guy, 75 bucks. 75 bucks. I can't buy a B&O. If I could just throw this money in, that would be great. I could get that second train. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize we're already on the 3 trains. Very interesting. Well, that means that extra money is not so good. I wasn't paying attention. We only have 1 extra train bought. And, you know, with 5 companies running, and we're already on the 3 train. And there's, wow, very interesting. Which means the Norfolk and Western, which I bet you can't hold another train. It's not listed here. You would think it would be there. What I'm looking for is the train chart. Yeah, you're only allowed 2 trains if you're a 5-share company. So this guy can only hold what he's got. He can't buy an additional train. Only, well, the other companies can all, but $200 is a fair amount of extra cash. Well, that's interesting to take into account. I got 75 extra bucks. There's no question the best things I can buy for 75. What did we have here? The S&R 20, 40, 60. The Maryville 20, 30, 50. Same with the C&O. So I guess we'll buy an S&R. And we say that's 70 bucks. We're not interested in how much money you can put in here unless that means an immediate new train or something. We're interested in how much money it puts in my pocket. Norfolk and Western, not enough money for a B&O. Your share price goes up too much, you can't sell it out. Interesting. He can't buy more Norfolk and Western. We've already looked at the other companies and I think come to the decision that the Southern is the most appealing. Maybe it'll be buying a 3 train. That would be cool. So I'm going to spend 70 bucks for a Southern as well. Once the 3 train is bought, people can go to 10-share companies. Of course, that cuts into your revenue, but it makes your corporation capable of expanding. Over for him, he too could buy a Southern. And how much does the Western Maryland mean? Because that could also go for 70 bucks. Southern here has 100 bucks. 150. He's most of the way there. If he does a swallow, he can get that train. Oh, I'm going to invest in my own company. May not be my best money maker, but it gives me something of a jump towards the next train. I'm at 120, I make 20 around in the pocket. Sounds reasonable. I do have to keep a freight train on here at all times, and I mean conceivably I could run down here and make a different run, but I've got to, getting all the mines would be really cool as one example, because they don't count against your train, your hauling capacity. So now we're back around to the front. Nobody's got enough cash for anything new. Nobody's going to be dealing shares around. So we're going to be going. And we're still at 1 operating round between stock rounds. I'll run through this one quickly and then load it up. This time the B&O swallowed. I'm not losing stock value off of doing this. I really do need a 3 train. And I've only got 20% of the company. Everybody else is sitting on 40% of their company. My $200 didn't buy me as much. I got to make that count, and the only way I can see doing it is to get another choo-choo in play. Norfolk and Western's been a hard choice for me, though. I've been looking at this sucker. He's got a fair amount of money on him. He may be swallowing. His run, not too exciting. 30, 50, wish I could run freight train right now. Remember that doubles the port cities. 30, 50, 60, 70, sorry. 50, 60, 70, yeah, because I go through there. 80, 90, 120. 120 isn't gonna get me the cash that I need. I don't have another train anyway. I'm going to be buying one of these when the 2s run out if I don't get another company. So I got to create money. So I'm going to keep paying out at 12 a share, and that's going to create quite a bit of money because I've got 60%, so I'm making like 72 bucks off of that personally. The Maryville, its little run, not enough to get it another train, so yeah, we're not going to do this. It would be great if you could convert these things over, because that 1G, great, that's fine now, but I would like a 2G next time, right? Maybe, probably not, but what I'd really like to do is get from here to one of the ports. If I could do that, something could happen. But as it is, you know, I've got this 1G servicing shit, this stuff, and now if I want another train, it's probably best to use a passenger train that can hit more cities. The only exception to that is if I can branch out and get 2 call runs early on. Certainly the 2G isn't terribly exciting though. It's the 1, 2, 3G that I really do want. 3 or 4 Gs. Okay. And remember, everything goes to hell, I think, when the... Oh no, the diesel just doesn't get the advantage. It's what kind of train you're running there, I believe. Okay, so for the Southern, they have kind of the cool advantage though. 40, 60 bucks, that's enough if I swallow to buy a train. I want to do that. I am not first here. I am after the C&O, if the C&O stands still. And this is the weird situation that I have to track that otherwise doesn't really work well. And I have the same problem with 1870, which, okay. So then that 70 bucks, there's no track delay here. Or 60 bucks. I spend, and I buy the first of the 3 trains. And I do not think I want a coal train. I could get one running. 1, 2, no, I need a 2. I could get one running here someday. I'm gonna just buy a regular old 3 and figure that I'll get the 3G if I want to go east-west. I think that's the best thing you can do is the east-west because you get the double port value as well as the bonuses off those. And at this point, corporations are allowed to convert, I believe this is during their own turn, and I could buy my private company if I want it. I have to think. Okay, whoever it was who just went, the Southern, does not wish to convert. I got 2 trains, I got a good percentage of ownership. My company looks pretty good. I don't need the influx of cash. I'm not even necessarily going to get it. C&O is in the same kind of position, too many shares outstanding. I'm not going to get that influx of cash, and they certainly don't want it at 65 bucks a share. They want to get their share value up. However, how do you get your share value up? Yeah, that's kind of hard. And there are my bitchies. Stellar's Jays having their morning happiness. Okay, so the other question is, would I want to buy one of these? Well, I don't have 90 bucks on here, and I'm not going to have it for a while, so it's not like I'm going to turn the money quickly. Same thing here. I don't really want to hose my company. I'm making 20 bucks a round off this. It's not terribly useful. So here I paid out, I don't know what I did. I dropped the 20 bucks on there. I thought I was going to pay out, but I don't think this guy swallowed. Did I give him the cash? Shit. It's hard to pay attention when there's lots of distraction. He made 20, 30, 50, 5 a share. I did not pay out for him. So he's got 6 times 5 is 30 bucks that he puts in his personal pocket. 50, still isn't going to do it. And notice this flips over and ends up on top there. I don't have enough cash to buy one of those $200 trains. They're $200 on either side. The trains are always the same cost. It's just whether you want the version that hits more cities or that hits more of the, or that can hit the coal mines. And that is that. Something sold out and I forgot to mark it. Norfolk and Western should be up one. And that it would have still slid forward if it paid out. So that's all good. We push into the stock round and we're on the priority. And let's send this up. That's what we see right now. I can put this here and give him the priority.